And they're off. It looks like stream delay still messing with its thing. We're going to get Wh0m in here shortly. There we go. Running into the bathroom to grab the fake branch, and then running into the main room to grab the TV remote to find out the password to this computer. Talking to the computer, unlocking the door, letting you out of the bedroom. We see a timer sync going on right now, and it looks like Wh0m had a little bit of a mess up that put durrb at a pretty decent lead. However, durrb has been talking today about how his mashing hasn't been so great, so that could be something that Wh0m can use to loosen or shorten the lead between the two. And speaking of the friend I mentioned earlier, I have iPie with me now, so hello.
Hello.
So, I already talked a bit about this matchup, so I guess while we're at the end of house here, we just have to bring this light bulb that you see to a door to exit. I want to ask iPie, what do you think of this matchup? Do you think someone here has a definitive edge? Do you think this was a matchup you expected to see happen at this point, or did you expect it to happen a little later point?
I did expect this matchup to happen here. I am actually not sure who's going to win, though. These are two very good one-shot players, and I don't know.
This was always going to be an interesting match because we never knew who durrbill could be facing. Basically, everybody that even attempted to make a prediction for this tournament knew that durrbill was going to make it to this point. But the top part of the winner's bracket was just a huge toss-up between Wh0m and Crudes both being up there, as well as Baster, who a lot of people who isn't too far up, but was making a lot of improvements really quickly. I knew there was probably someone thinking that he could get to a really high level in time. He is doing really well in the loser's bracket currently. Will be facing the winner of the match happening after this. Again, or keep in mind, right after this match, this best of 3, we have another best of 3 with Crudes and Chris18 happening on the same channel. But yeah, it was really a toss-up to see who durrb was going to be facing, and Wh0m, despite not being the world record holder, I feel like he was actually kind of the favorite to be in the winners finals. So it's really just cool to see. And shoutouts to Rules Card. Have you played Deltarune yet?
I have not. I've been meaning to, but have not yet.
To me personally, it's actually been a great speed game to play. I've been kind of burnt out on this game. For those that missed it, I was eliminated earlier this week. So I declared I kind of just wanted a big break from this game. And Deltarune was a fun escape from that, but this tournament, I'm not the lifeblood of this tournament. It still goes on without me. So we have both of these runners going to sleep and then bringing the metal rod to break the crowbar. It looks like durrb is still managing to keep the lead that he had in house, which is definitely interesting, because that's usually like an area we like to joke about being awful, but you rarely see it make that big a difference. And so yeah, now they're just kind of building up sequence. This game is really interesting in that it's like a puzzle game where you're supposed to achieve certain goals by combining items. And in a casual playthrough, you're just supposed to kind of go one by one and collect hints on what to do next. But in a speedrun setting where you know what you're doing, and you know what you have to do to progress, you're just kind of building up a huge backlog of items to just suddenly use in one big burst of crafting and menu movement in order to just get past some sort of wall in your way. Not a literal wall, but a figurative wall. Now the generator's booted back up. That was the first major thing we needed to do, was get the power back up for the generator. Giving power to machines in all the places in the Barrens does a great job for, you know, letting you progress and collect more items. Whom with an awful safe code.
We should probably talk about the safe code. For those who don't know and haven't played the game, how the game works is after you turn on the power and talk to the computer, it will generate a random 6-digit safe code that you have to find by opening a document that's in your documents folder.
And if you don't know about the story of this game, I definitely recommend playing it on your own. But one thing I'm going to explain about how it works is it builds its character and its world so that you get attached to it by just kind of ignoring the fourth wall and having you interact like directly with the game itself to kind of just build the world and character. So it's really interesting, but at the same time, in a speedrun, it can make it kind of annoying. People literally download like Notepad++ just to get access to the safe code faster. But fortunately, some of the stuff isn't random, so it's going to be a while before we have to worry too much, other than just closing and reopening the game, which, as you saw with the sleeping earlier, we're going to have to do that once in every area. So now both of them are on the tail end of the Barrens here. This is basically just a lot of cutscene to get one final item. Our first key item, if you will. A few items have significance for an event later in the game that allows you access to the end of the game. And the first one we're going to get here is the Amber, which you see on both screens. So, Durb being the first one to leave the Barrens in the lead. I guess we can just ask in this unskippable cutscene, I can ask another question about this matchup. Do you think this matchup would be different based on the seeding of these players, or do you think it would have ended up being the same?
Let's see.
Because Durb was originally seed 2 at the beginning of this tournament, and Wh0m was originally seed 3, although currently Wh0m is, I believe, about almost 20 seconds ahead of Durr in terms of PB.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wh0m, the person with second seed, based on a giant skill gap between third and fourth currently, kind of, like, the second seed kind of had a fairly easy-to-access route to winners finals, and meanwhile the third had to fight the world record holder, which again, it's amazing to have seen Crudes take, or not Crudes, but Wh0m take Crudes down. But it's really interesting to think with how many radical changes in positioning and times of the top 3 between seeding and the beginning of the tournament, just like how different the tournament would have been had PVs come at different times.
Yeah.
They're getting unlucky with the robot here. That robot loves to walk in your path. For Wh0m it didn't, though.
As you were saying, like, the PBs have, and, like, positioning have changed since we've done seeding. However, I do believe that at some point, like, the top 3 would have all faced each other. Just how we have the brackets set up.
Yeah,
so
they are definitely. That is definitely going to happen.
this match would have happened at some point, I do believe.
Yeah.
Maybe not now, but at some point it would have happened.
Yeah, exactly. Right now, though, this game one is still looking good for Durr. And I think Durr, with the things I mentioned earlier, and having a worse PB combined, I think a game one for Durb is actually going to be amazing for him, because it's definitely going to give him motivation to play a game two that a lot of people expected to play a game two, and if needed, a game three that he could possibly win the set, which is something I think that not only himself, but maybe quite a few other people might not have expected to happen. Of course, with his puzzle routes, I don't know why he does this light bulb so weirdly, but with that light bulb, it's definitely not helping him keep his lead, but...
Yeah. It is definitely a longer puzzle route, however, I do believe it is a little bit easier to do.
I think so. It's just, he's the only person who does it, and it's really interesting because he's in the top 3.
Yeah.
And like with how close this game is in terms of like how simple it is with movement, you'd kind of expect stuff like puzzle routes to mean everything. But despite that, there's still like a minute gap between Durb's PB and the person behind him on the leaderboards, which, tooting my own horn, is me. But yeah, no, like with all the weird stuff he does, he's still a minute ahead of me in this game. So it's really interesting. This game is just, I don't know. Uses the RAM puzzle faster than Wh0m does. Wh0m still uses the oldest route, which only wastes, like, realistically 35 frames at most. I'm like, hey, that's not a lot of time. Durb seems to be having trouble fast traveling, though. We never explained fast traveling. Although I guess that was more my fault, because I was the one talking this whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, fast traveling just makes moving through the area so much easier. Especially with super fast traveling, which is what happens whenever you see somebody, like, fast traveling off and back on a screen to get to a certain part of it faster. Definitely one of the most, important things in this run is super fast traveling, and just fast traveling in general.
Yeah, when you fast travel, what the game does is it actually puts you in a set position, generally kind of towards the center or, like, an important part of the screen, and it just... a lot of the time, just fast traveling away and fast traveling back into that specific spot in the screen is a lot faster than just walking to it.
Yeah.
So
You necessarily see that more at the beginning of areas when you travel through a lot of new places in succession. In areas like the Barrens, where you're basically moving in a giant circle, you do it a lot of the time because you're constantly going to new areas. But in the Glen, by the halfway point of the area, you already have every area unlocked that you're going to be visiting. So it's not as common. You see like one super fast travel. And you'll not see too many more in the next area until like the second half of it. Yeah. Due to some menuing issues, Wh0m took a lead, but Wh0m still has to craft an item that Durr already has. So if he messes up crafting that like Durr did, there might be that lead comeback for Durr. We'll see what happens here. No, okay, that was really good for Wh0m.
It looks like Wh0m's going to be taking the lead as we go into Glen.
Yeah.
Or not Glen, but Refuge.
We're leaving Glen.
Yeah.
You were close. Okay, and Wh0m's audio is marked not usable, so unfortunately we can't switch to the audio of the leader. I think Wh0m mentioned taking his mic off, but I don't know. I might tell someone about that.
Alright, both players now in the refuge. We have Whom here going to talk to the lamplighter. The whole thing with this area is that the ground button's missing and you have to go make a new one, so...
Fortunately, the item that we're going to find to make the button itself has the word ground conveniently on it in a convenient enough shape. Aha. But yeah. The elevator button is what we need because we're told from the beginning of this area to head to a library that's on the ground. And we're kind of not on the ground right now, if you haven't noticed. So this elevator is our only hope.
Both players coming out of the sleep now. This area with the bed is a very interesting area because it is one of two places that you can actually fast travel out of without being able to fast travel into.
Yeah, it is kind of an enigma, especially because it's an indoor area. But it is a very weird area, so it at least makes a little sense, I guess. Wait, one of two?
Yes, the right outside the mines. You can't fast travel into there, but you can fast travel out of.
I mean, you never use a fast travel out of there in the route, so I guess that explains. Despite how much I say I want to know about this game, if it doesn't involve the any percent route, I don't know. Yeah, we did have a developer commentate a race once, and I believe you were on with him. So
yes, I was, and I did slightly better commentary than what I'm doing now.
Well, it's okay. I realize I'm talking over you a lot, but I love talking about this game. I'm really glad this tournament has just given us a ton of interesting races to talk over. Like, honestly, any round 2 match is probably worth watching. I think only, like, one thing in the past 5 races hasn't gone to Game 3, which is super exciting in this game.
Both players have successfully not talked to the tape dispenser twice, which can be easier said than done.
A task strat.
We now get to do the dreaded elevator code.
I'd like to call out my elimination match opponent for trying to threaten me with the wrong elevator code. Like, a lot of our discussion the day of our race was like 63015, when that's not the code, it's actually 63014. It's just a funny joke because messing that up actually is like horrible for your run. And so a lot of people are like, if I'm gonna get ahead, it's gonna be on the refuge elevator. But fortunately, both of them got it right.
Yes.
Also, I have heard that audio was fixed, so we can switch the audio of our leader now.
So
but, you take the, oh, sorry. You take
ground floor of refuge here is very interesting. You'll notice both runners went into an area and immediately left the screen. And what they're doing here is they're doing very optimized super fast travels into different areas just to get fast travel points for later. But anyways, we're now going to the runners are now doing a glitch called Kip Skip. Laurie, if you can explain that, because I can't do it well.
I've mentioned a lot of times that if you use a bed, the game closes, and that's kind of an intended thing in the game. If you close the game unintended via a just closing the game window, you get a kind of cutscene where Nico gets scared. The interesting thing about this is the game lets you close it while you're in the middle of moving onto a tile. And what this can do is this can cause a lot of cutscenes to be skipped by walking onto that tile. Or by walking onto the tile with the cutscene while closing the game and reopening it. This is known as a quick glitch, which is something only I call it, because I'm the only one that talks about categories other than this one, but that's besides the point. But Kip Skip is a quick glitch in where you skip a cutscene that normally the game in that cutscene tells you to move backwards a tile because you're trying to go into an out-of-bounds, an out-of-access area without the item required to access it. And because of that, you skip a giant portion of the ground refuge by doing that behind the counter of this library to get into the back. And you meet George, who we talked to earlier. When we opened the safe in the Barrens, we got a journal, and George translated that journal, telling us we need 3 golden items to enter the tower, which is where we need to put the light bulb to finish our journey. She gave us the 3rd golden item, and she also gave us a little bit of luck in the run. As you saw on home screen, George was a dice where her face was 4, and for Durb, her face was 5. Each face has a different amount of dialogue, contributing to, or due to the fact that each face has a different personality. That is random each time you play the game. So Durb got the best George to get, George 5, while George 4, for whom George 4 is about average. I believe it loses about a 1.5 seconds over George 5. So it's really just a random thing that loses up to 3 seconds if you get the worst luck possible. But she gives you your final item to access the tower, which is where these 2 are now, and is an important part of the game. So you can't hate her that much. So we have a file open in the background of the game, known as Clover, or underscore to some people, that allows you access into the epilogue. So that's what they have here to get into this final puzzle section. This final puzzle section is awful because it's all movement, and the movement in this game is dumb. But in all seriousness, you have to... There's 3 parts to it. You see this maze here where they have to move in specific directions. And then they're going to get soon to a door maze where Whom is now... Durb is a screen behind Whom. That is definitely exciting because movement mistakes can mean a lot. These doors... the underscore thing I mentioned usually helps you with knowing which door to go through. However, since it's not random, these 2 just know where to go based on memorization and constant playing the game. And then the last part is the tile puzzles, which are kind of like when you freed Alula, but it's awful because if you make one misstep, it can be really hard to recover.
What are you talking about? This is the best part of the game.
I forgot you were a masochist.
So, in all seriousness, these tile puzzles can easily ruin runs, especially this one that Whom's on right now. As
they're messing up the middle dot. Whom is looking good, though. Once you get to the inside of the light bulb, I definitely think it's much easier than the outside. And so, Whom... going to be going in the final cutscenes. It's very hard to lose time from this point onward, so unless some weird thing that we've never seen before happens, it looks like Whom is going to just barely take game 1.
Yeah, unless Whom forgot to unbind menu from enter, he should take this game.
Whom also plays with controller. I believe he's the only one really to do so that has played recently, so he probably does not have a lot of keyboard involved stuff, which you do want to, like, the Windows pop-up text boxes, you do want to master with enter, so that's what you see happening now. And yeah, it looks like Whom's going to be entering the elevator at 25:01. Meanwhile, they're probably going to get, let's see, 25:10 on the entry. So looks like Whom's going to take this one by just under 10 seconds. About. So once you choose your ending, this is when the timer ends. So we're going to see Whom with a 25:41, a very good time, and Durr with maybe about a 25:51, an also very good time, also less than 10 seconds off of Durb's PB. So that was a really good run there, and Whom was still not too far behind his own, only about 13 seconds behind his own. So yeah, that was a good game to both. Congratulations to Whom, having a 1-game lead going into game 2, taking the first one. But this is a best of 3, so it doesn't end yet. So it looks like we're going to be setting these two up for game 2 now. Yeah, we have our countdown going, so probably in about 20 seconds at most, we'll see the runners go off. Starting off, all right. So, we'll see how this. One thing to keep in mind was a lot of Durb's lead was gained because of the house, and then a lot of it was lost in the Glen. So those are definitely going to be the 2 areas to watch out for, because Durb definitely kept the lead from house all the way to that Glen mess up. So this is perfect.
Wow.
These two have made completely different mistakes throughout this house, but they're still like perfectly in sync with each other. Hitting the end of it.
I want to say Durr has like the smallest lead right now. Like,
I don't want to say anything. Yeah, okay, Durb has a really small lead. and it's gonna look weirder. Okay, both the light bulbs are on. Let's see what the Barons does. Alright, so let's see. Mashing is, of course, a major thing, and this is the first major bout of it. So, we will see how it goes. Okay. Stop. Okay, Whom taking a slight lead. On mashing. Also, to the person in chat asking, when it comes to the puzzles in this game that require fourth wall breaking, since the tile puzzle to free Alula is not randomized, we actually never have to talk to the entity that gives you the solution to that puzzle, because we already know it.
And the same is true for the code for the elevator.
Yeah, the code for the elevator, and just about everything other than the safe code and the computer code. Or the safe code and the computer code and the... I don't even know. Yeah. Also, did I just mention the Easter egg involving that, or am I stupid?
I don't think you've mentioned it yet.
If you solve that puzzle and then talk to the computer that usually gives you the solution, it gets really confused, and it's really funny. Same thing if before you go into the elevator in the refuge, you go to talk to the computer there.
Both players neck and neck here, entering the mines. I'm not sure if it's mentioned, but we talked to the door of the mines on the right, because it is slightly faster. Silver has to walk over and open up the mines for you, and Silver can only go at walking speed while you can go at running speed. So if you just go to the tile on the right, Silver doesn't have to go to the tile on the right, instead we'll go to the one on the left, saving a few frames.
Yeah.
But
it's definitely, there's some things about that. I have done timings for the dumbest things in this game before, and if you want a bit of reference, running a tile takes 10 frames, and walking a tile takes 16. So that thing you mentioned saved 6 frames. But everyone does it, because, hey, we've seen a race that was like 3 frames apart before. So you never know. That could have made a difference. I mean, hey, it's a free 1/10 of a second. GoldenEye run it. Be all over that. "454" were the first 3 digits of that code.
yeah, Dur didn't have the best code there, and has
did you
lost.
see Whom's Game 1 code?
I did not.
He wrote it down, because I remember it being awful. Whom's Game 1 code was 745656. I guess we never explained that either. You can scroll up or down, so you want numbers that are usually on the edge. Obviously 0 is the best, because you don't have to input anything at all. but you can get but if you want, you prefer numbers like 1, 9, and 2 and 8 over numbers like 4, 5, or 6, because it takes less inputs on the scroll wheel to reach, and that's just minor time save. That can be a lot more major if your menuing is not good and you mess stuff up. So yeah, it kind of looks like we have a switch. It feels like right now, Wh0m is ahead by a fairly similar amount of time that he was behind at this point last race. I think a bit more, actually. And Wh0m is definitely on great pace. Alright, so, Wh0m being the first one to leave Barons, that is a great pace. Let's see that. 8:03. That might be ahead of his PB. I'm just gonna say that now. That might be ahead of his PB. This is an amazing start from Wh0m, and durr is still not doing the worst. And it looks like on his own stream, Wh0m is not comparing against his PB, so I cannot tell without looking up his actual PB video, which I'm just not in the mood to pull that up. Speaking of running streams, though, I would definitely recommend checking them out because they do play this game a lot and are very good at it. On top of this game, Wh0m is also a great Pokemon Mystery Dungeon runner, and durrb announced that he's probably going to start running Deltarune once he's finished with this tournament, which if you have not played that, I would recommend checking it out.
You said Wh0m had a 8:03 split, correct?
Yes.
That is 1 second ahead of his PB.
Dang. So that's really good. His PB, again, being 25:28, I believe. Well, the world record is 25:10 by Crudes, a record that is probably, I'm expecting to stick around for a while. Achieved in a tournament race against Wh0m, actually. And now Wh0m talking to Maze to give up the sun so he can receive the vines. And durrb right behind. How did world record get so far ahead? Mashing. Mashing do text. A blessed keyboard. Yeah, that one works. Crudes, if you look at the way he mashes through the text, is unreal.
Very clean light bulb puzzle right there.
Yep. Yeah, it's a question I feel like I've meant to ask for a while. And if I have asked it, I either forgot the answer or never got one. But Durb does stick with that slow route. We talked a bit about it last race. You mentioned it being safer, which I find strange. If only because this is a game that's rooted a lot in muscle memory. So, like, just having your fingers knowing what they're doing is great for this game, because that way you can confidently go through a lot of it really quickly. So maybe it's muscle memory he hasn't grown out of. I don't know what it is, because it's definitely... I don't know why he would ever think it's faster, if I'm being completely honest. So yeah, now Wh0m. One thing it's good we haven't seen yet is somebody saying no to Calamus's invitation. If you say no, you have to walk all the way to this house yourself, and it wastes a lot of time.
Yeah, probably one of the most costly dialogue choices you have.
We might have a game 3 for that, though, but who knows? Wh0m is playing absolutely amazing, so... If he's on his own pace, if he's tied with his PB, Wh0m is like 15 seconds ahead of Durb's PB. So, with this pace, this is definitely a good game for Wh0m right now. And this could be a closer unless something major happens. Alright, so Wh0m now going to be leaving for the refuge. Durb not too far behind.
It appears that Wh0m is still a second or 3 ahead of his PB currently.
Yep, that is pretty good. Again, there's still a fairly decent gap between that and record, and I don't know if Wh0m intends to go for record, but Wh0m is definitely playing great. What I'm gonna do actually right now is I'm gonna calculate like the exact difference between the two right now. So if that was like a low 36 on the can grab, let's see what Durr gets here. That was like a low 49. So 13 seconds behind Wh0m right now is interesting. Because, okay, the two have a 15-second PB difference. So if Wh0m is 3 seconds ahead of his PB, Durb is probably like 5 seconds ahead of his. Unless, I don't know. I don't know what strong and weak points either of these people have in their PBs. So, other than it's just a really strong PB the whole way throughout. So we'll see how they do compared to their late game segments, because we're getting into late game post-refuge sleep. So yeah. Do you think there's anything that Whom needs to watch out for at this point? Like, do you think there's anything in particular at this point that Whom is usually struggling with that you think Durb could take the lead over? Do you think that Whom's lead is kind of too much at this point for the skill level of these two? I don't know. This is a really interesting scenario with both of them kind of on PB-ish pace, I believe.
I'll be honest, I'm not, like, I haven't watched Whom too much, so I don't quite know how he typically is. However, the biggest thing is, of course, choking the light bulb puzzle. That is always a threat to anybody. However, it's, again, I don't know really the skill here. And I don't know how confident Whom is at the light bulb puzzle.
Yeah.
So, it's quite possible that it may be too late.
Yeah. Especially with the lead gap, like, Whom could spend quite a bit of time on the light bulb. For sure. And George is definitely a thing. If hip skip soft lock happens, that'd definitely be bad. I believe we've only seen like 2 or 3 people do that in this tournament, which is more than I expected, honestly. But it's still a fairly rare soft lock. It's like actually way specific compared to getting the skip. And I don't think George is going to make the biggest difference at this point. And yeah, different faces of George. I mentioned this last race. Different faces of George have different lengths of dialogue, which can lose you up to 3 seconds between the two. So if Whom gets George 3 and Durb gets George 5, Durb will save 3 seconds over Whom. And that's the biggest time gap that can come from the two. But we'll have to wait and see. Due to the way these two are capturing, we're going to see a little bit of delay before the game actually comes back up. We have perfect
George 5. Wow.
From Whom, and we saw that from Durb last race, so we're getting some pretty good luck with George. We'll see what Durb gets. 6, which is the second fastest. Losing them only about, I think, 0.7 seconds to 5. So, yeah, nice time save for Whom. George is definitely a rough NPC, not only in text luck differing, but also George is an NPC you can very easily re-talk to if you're mashing too hastily. And does have a lot of post-event dialogue, so if you accidentally talk to them an extra time, they can waste a lot of time. Also likes to move around a lot. That's the thing, not only with the robot and the Glen, but NPCs in general like to move around a lot, and if you have to talk to them, that can be kind of annoying to have to adjust to that on such short notice. Was that a Pokemon cry?
Yeah.
You know what that might be, actually? That might be a gold split sound. That's the only thing I can think of. I remember Whom recently meant like something involving sound effects on stream. That might have been a gold split. Yeah, it was. Previous segment. About a second behind, though, by the end of Refuge. So, if he saves, like, a second or 2 on Tower, he can PB. Because he's only a second behind his PB. He's on sub 25:30 pace, which is absolutely insane. Durb, not talking to the computer the right way. The best time we have seen in this tournament is the current world record of 25:10 by Crudes. So it wouldn't be the best tournament time in the whole thing, but getting a sub 25:30 in the tournament race would be just an absolutely amazing show of just your skill at this game. Especially as someone whose PB is only 2 seconds off of 25:30. But now Wh0m is in the tower, and Durb is not too far behind. I think that Durb might have caught up a little bit in Refuge, actually, but I can't be too sure. I can't tell 100%. It's kind of a very weird area.
I believe last time we were talking about how the program that they have open, there's typically shows them like which way they go, but they memorize it. I believe you were the one who actually has all the number memorized, correct?
Yeah, I am.
Would you like to list them off real quick?
Okay, so the way that we like to map this section is that you see the doors are always like horizontal. So what we like to do is we like to map them from numbers like left to right, like numbers from left to right. So like the way left door is 1 and the way right door is the number of doors in the room. That being said, the number of the door order is 2 3 1 2 1 2 2 4 2 2 3 1 4 2 3 2. There's 16 doors. And I, for some reason, thought it was a good idea to just memorize the number instead of using my brain to memorize the room. To be fair, I did learn this back in 2017 in the middle of midterms, like midterm season. So I was kind of not able to play video games a lot. And so instead of remembering, instead of remembering locations, I kind of just resorted to remembering stuff that was written down. And at the time, there was a great written guide by Chris18, which is still up if you want to learn this game. Fortunately, I feel like I did a really good job making a video guide for this game, which is also on this game, speedrun.com guides page, if you want to check that out. If you want to learn this run, I would definitely say try it out. It's definitely not the speed game for everyone. It's a very weird speed game, but I definitely think it's worth trying, and if you enjoy it, hey, it's a good kind of chill game to play if you just want to, I don't know, warm up your hands, maybe. Although it's not good to play with cold hands. But Wh0m entering the elevator. And Durb now entering the elevator. But yeah, I had to learn a lot of this by memorizing a written route, which is probably why some of the ways I do this game is really weird. But that's besides the point, because this race is about these two. Looks like Wh0m is unfortunately not going to be PBing, but still with a 25:35 in the tournament race is incredible. And Durb not too far behind. 35:49, only 6 seconds off of PB. A really good run still. So we'll see if we can get these two for interviews. Okay, we already have someone. We have Durb. Hello.
Hello.
How do you feel about that? Unfortunately, you did lose, but you're still not out because this wasn't the upper bracket. But yeah, how do you feel about that set?
I went about as expected. I definitely I definitely say, despite being the higher seed, I was definitely being expected to lose against him, given his recent PBs and stuff.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking, how do you think your runs went? Because I don't remember your first time exactly, but your second run was 6 seconds off your PB, I think 5 even.
Yeah.
So you definitely played a good set. It's just Wh0m played a kind of crazy set.
Yeah, I first was 25.53, which isn't bad. Definitely not bad for me, but not good enough. And second, 25.49, which 6 seconds off my PB is not too bad, but no terrible chokes, I'd say. So I'm overall pleased with how I played, but you know how it goes.
That sounds good. And then we have our winner, Wh0m, with us. So congratulations to you, Wh0m. How do you feel you played in that set? I have a feeling we're about to hear good words, because I personally think that was a great set.
I don't even remember fully what happened in the first round, other than I got an 8-12 Barons and I was annoyed, and then I still got like a really good time.
Yeah, what happened in your first round, I noticed, was your house had a problem.
Oh yeah, okay, so the code was, I guess, 3218. I saw 3210, and yeah.
Font.
That was fun. So yeah, that ended up being like a 130 house for me. That was fun. But second run I didn't have that mistake, and friggin' the Baron split where I had like a really good safe code, and then I didn't choke anything. Getting an 803 Barons was insane. Like I knew I was on PB pace at that point, and then Glenn didn't screw me up yet, but I don't know what I was doing in elevator. I wasn't paying attention.
So
I even got George 5. Oh.
Yeah. Durb got George 5 during the first race. You guys got pretty good George luck. The worst George we saw was 4, which is one that people usually don't even complain about.
Yeah.
So I guess a few questions is, did you guys ever expect to face off in upper bracket, or was this something you thought was going to be like losers finals?
Well, I didn't expect Crudes to like lose to me, because that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah,
the only reason I won is because he lost himself, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know.
I was definitely expecting Crudes to beat Wh0m, but I'd say they're close enough to where saying it's a toss-up is pretty possible. Normally, Crudes is a lot more consistent. It's something he's known for. He very rarely messes stuff up, but
it was definitely kind of a weighted coin, but not like so weighted that it was guaranteed. It feels like it was like a 60-40, if anything, with Crudes on an advantage, but Wh0m still managed to take it, which is a lot of exciting. Pi said earlier that this was definitely a matchup that if we didn't see now, we'd probably end up seeing it later.
Yeah.
So do you think a race like this, because I know you had a fairly easy run through the bracket. You had to face, I think it was iPi.
And then you.
Me. So this was kind of your first major threat, not to shade iPi at all, who's with us, and I'm shading myself. But this was the first set that you really had a really high risk in. So do you feel like you played the set differently from any previous races in this tournament?
Honestly, I was more nervous in my last 2 sets for whatever reason. Probably because I'm not sure. Like at the start of this set, I felt like I was playing so well. Like I was thinking about, oh, I'm gonna be so nervous, etc., etc. But for some reason, I just entered this like state of, all right, yeah, this guy's probably gonna beat me, but I might as well go all out.
Yeah, your Barons was incredible. In fact, you were ahead until the Feather Pen.
Yeah, that was oh god.
You were even ahead after the slow Alula route.
Yeah.
So it was a great start. But you have another chance at comeback because you're automatically put into the finals of the losers bracket. So you get a little bit of a rest, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm waiting for.
You have to wait for 2 more matches to be played. Those 2 being Crudes versus Chris 18, which is happening in just about an hour on the same channel here, Speed Gaming 3. And then you have to wait for the winner of that to face Baster. So I think you know who you expect. I think a lot of people are expecting the same person to be your next opponent. And meanwhile, Wh0m, you get to take a bit of a longer break. You get to go back. You get to go into the grand finals already. So
yeah, dang.
Yeah.
How am I here?
It's definitely amazing. Do you think that you are gonna be seeing Derb again? Just be completely honest.
If Crudes chokes again, then yes, because when Crudes doesn't choke often, but when he chokes, he chokes hard. So
yes,
there's always that possibility. The fact that I was even able to get through means that there's a chance. So
especially with Derb again playing amazingly today.
Yeah.
And that also puts you with a 1-game advantage in a best-of-5 over whoever you join. So do you think that'll change your mentality? Like, if you think, oh, I only have to win 2 games against Crudes before he wins 3? Like, do you think this is kind of the confidence boost you needed? Because I definitely think, and a lot of people think, that despite Crudes, again, choking very rarely and having great skill, I definitely think this set could go to you in Grand Finals. What do you think about that, though? Are you letting it get to your head a bit? Do you think, I'm not going to win against him again? Or are you trying to humble yourself in case you get too confident and you just spiral out of control like I did in my last race?
Well,
Playing against Crudes is odd. I guess it's probably the same mentality durrbill had against me, where after that first round where he got the world record of 25:10, I was completely certain it was over. But then I still played and got a 25:31 that round. So I'm able to keep that keep my mentality in check during a race usually. But I just don't expect to win, and then it just becomes a lot easier. I don't know why.
Yeah. Definitely bracket mind games are a really big part of the top 3 where everyone's super close. And I definitely would recommend checking these 2 out. There you go, I got the links in chat. I'd also love to give a huge shout out to iPie for joining me today. Was a lot of fun on commentary. But I don't have too much to say. Do you guys have any other notes that I didn't get to?
I have a little bit to say on Wh0m versus Crudes and Grands. I think, given Crudes has to win 3 games, I would say it's a 50-50 for Wh0m winning this or losing Grands, because if Crudes has more chances to choke, no, obviously he might not, but he might. If he has more chances to choke, it's, that automatically gives Wh0m an advantage.
Yeah.
Because that's clearly Crudes' weakness.
Yeah, is that when he chokes.
But that's all I have.
I guess the only thing I have is let's go controller. It's still surviving this late in the tourney.
How?
Are you in Grand Finals? I didn't think so. This post was made by Controller Gang.
Controller strats OP. Please nerf.
Yeah.
Not as good
as
as
the controller.
Dance pad, though.
The dance pad is the best one. I'll pull out the DK bongos someday.
Get a DK bongos and dance pad.
I have DK bongos actually, but I'm not gonna get around to that. So yeah, 50 minutes. This channel, Crudes versus Chris. We're gonna find out who is gonna face Base 09 in the lower bracket semifinals. I'd say stick around, but again, 50 minutes. If you want a snack, get one now. Do what you need to do, and make sure to come back for what definitely could be an exciting race. And with that, that's all I have to say. So, thanks for listening to everything I've had to say. But yeah, I will be signing off now. So, thank you.
See you, fellas.
See ya.
Goodbye.
GG's.
GG's.